Hello there, I'm Jacob Soroti at Young Cub Audio, and we're here to take a look at Lethal Company, or more accurately, a close listen, as the game has seemingly taken over in just a short time. In fact, despite only being released in late October of this year, the game already has over 100,000 reviews, which leans in the 97.25% positive. In fact, Zeekers, the solo developer for Lethal Company, which is still being updated, has earned thus far 215,000 concurrent players and has even beaten large AAA games and developers at the global top sellers list for Steam, being ahead of games like Baldur's Gate 3 and even the Resident Evil 4 remake. So, how on earth did a single dev take an indie title so far and so fast? I'll give you a hint that myself and many of the community have already found out. It's the sound, or more exactly, the voice chat. But wait, tons of games already have voice chat. What makes Lethal Companies so different? Well, let's find that out. First, we'll take a look at the game itself. The description for the game on Steam is as follows. You are a contracted worker for the company. Your job is to collect scrap from abandoned industrialized moons to meet the company's profit quota. You can use the cash you earn to travel to new moons with higher risks and rewards, or you can buy fancy suits and decorations for your ship. Experience nature, scanning any creature you find to add them to your bestiary. Explore the wondrous outdoors and rummage through their derelict steel and concrete underbellies. Just never miss the quota. To translate this a little bit, Lethal Company is a 4-player co-op survival horror game, where you must collect enough scrap on each mission to satisfy the quota or meet a suffocating fate. To those who may have played similar 4-player co-op games, you might be scratching your head, as this doesn't seem too different from games like Left 4 Dead, Deep Rock Galactic, or even Dead by Daylight. The difference, however, is how serious Lethal Company takes its tone and the much differing abilities the game gives you compared to similar ones. Mentioning tone in a game as silly and out there as Lethal Company, where clown horns and laser pointers are common loot, might seem a bit out there, but its focus is so different compared to other games. Rather than focus on the enemy, either escaping it or defeating it, the focus is on the job. More importantly, the quota, as missing the quota is the only true way to lose the game, requiring a restart. In fact, many missions the team might not run into a single enemy encounter, either by sheer luck or due to the randomness that comes with procedural generation of levels. It's the focus of the game that gives it the first level of tone. There are no assault rifles to take on the horrors. The best you can get is maybe a stun gun and a shovel, both of which hardly seem like a good plan once you know what you're up against. Let's take a look at one of the most prevalent things about a game. Its graphics, which Lethal Company will not be winning any awards from. For many games, this is a stylistic choice, or even just a decision to focus attention on other parts of the game. But I think it's a very specific choice for Lethal Company. This super low-res, low-poly style makes everything difficult to see. I ran into an obstacle that usually has little to no consequence in most games: quicksand. Not only is it difficult to see in Lethal Company, the quicksand isn't unique in its look, only being slightly darker than the rest of its surroundings. Upon almost dying to it several times before even entering the moon's facility, I was already on edge, and just a bit later, after letting my guard down for a moment, it claimed my life before I could even step foot on the next moon. This is one of the many examples that comes from not being able to see everything in 4K high definition. Many other times, I was completely guessing where to jump over death pits or staring into the darkness with some kind of eyes looking back at me. Everything I saw had a very gritty feel, which again helped immensely with the game's tone. But now, let's dive into what I think truly separates this game from the rest and where we can blame for its incredible recent success: the sound. Upon first listen, many of the sounds you commonly hear in Lethal Company I wouldn't describe as high quality. the lack of variation in footsteps, the ambience is not always lining up with its location, or maybe the lack of audio cues for important events, like something sneaking up behind you, or how every sound, including a player's voice chat, has been downsampled to decrease its quality and make it what I would describe as, again, gritty. Most importantly is how these and all other sounds interact in the environment. For one, all the sounds have directionality, allowing you to tell where they are coming from, which in a game like Lethal Company, where it's so easy to become lost, or where at times vision is completely unreliable, this is less a part of the world's tone and more a tool of necessity for its players. Secondly is the way sound interacts with spaces. In larger rooms or even canyons, what is played is given reverb, which lets the player know what kind of space they're in, but also makes things like directionality far more challenging to pick up. Perhaps it's the game's use of filters, letting you know if sounds are coming through walls or they're being played extremely far away. It could be the use of blind and deaf enemies, making the player modify their strategy depending upon a creature's weakness. Or maybe how any sound being played can suddenly be cut the moment something interrupts it, allowing those around the sound to know something bad probably just happened. All of these ways and more that sound interacts with its environment and how it's used as a tool by the player not just helps the tone of the game, but makes it. But thus far, these are things that many survival horror games have done, many far before Lethal Company's time. What sets it apart is its inclusion of voice chat into these sonic rules. Many games have included voice chat into its function, and many have become popular in part because of it. Lethal Company is set apart due to its voice chat rules. There is no team chat. If you want to talk to your team, they need to be close, or you must use a walkie-talkie. If your teammate sounds like he's in the next room on your left, it's because they are. And if the radio suddenly starts screaming and suddenly cuts out, that likely means that they're dead. What all these systems have in place is how they use audio to replace a common game system. No team health monitor, no minimap, and no chat logs. Without all of these common game systems, the game feels, well, less like a game and more like an experience. More like an evil corporate gig that feels less and less worth your life as you gain more experience with the company, which actually shows, as players who have more experience are often far calmer and know how to better counteract the horrors that happen all too often. There's so much about the game I couldn't bring up with the short time I do have. I would highly recommend giving it a try and becoming an employee. It's a decision you'll probably regret in the best of ways. Will Lethal Company keep its fame and its popularity? Only time will tell, but one thing we can take from it is its use of sensory cues to replace game systems. This is most often done through visual or graphic systems, but using less common methods such as the use of sound is what separates a game from an experience.
He's in the ship now.
Thank you for listening to a Young Cub audio analysis. Have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, did he just leave?